Hello YouTube, this is Froogle and this is the brand new Piper Comanche 250 from A2A Simulations. Now I had the great honor of announcing this at FlightSimCon this past weekend, and then Scott was speaking to me and he said, I'd like you to take a look at it prior to release. So I got sent this prior to release and I've had a little bit of time to take a look at it, and I gotta tell you, I love it. I really do love it. Let me get the disclaimers out of the way first. A number of people have asked, why would A2A do this aircraft and not say a twin like a Beech Baron or something like that? And I think it's actually quite simple. I think the reasoning behind doing this aircraft makes perfect sense. In fact, this livery is Scott Gentile, who is the owner of A2A Simulations. So this is his aircraft. This is the aircraft that he has had for about 3 years. Spends a great deal of time with. It is his pride and joy, and it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? If you're going to model an aircraft, that if you have access to one, if you own one, that you would do that aircraft at some point. And that's exactly what they've done here, and they've really stepped things up over and above the incredible reputation they had already set for the other Accu-sim GA aircraft. Now, if you are unfamiliar with Accu-sim, what it is an extension, I guess, to FSX or Prepared, which provides a complete living, breathing aircraft. An Accu-sim aircraft ages, so the more you fly it, the more you wear down various components, the more wear and tear you put on various parts of the aircraft, and it's in your best interest to fly this accurately. And to that end, it's really a study aircraft. It's a study sim. It has a lot of features built in, like you can do a full walk-around inspection, for example, as you can with all A2A GA aircraft, and get a hang of what it means to pre-flight one of these. It's a study sim in terms of how Accu-sim models the behavior of a combustion engine, in particular this combustion engine. It's a study sim in the aerodynamic modeling of the aircraft as well. Everything about this is absolutely authentic, real, highly accurate, and you really could use this as an aid to your training. Obviously it's not certified as a trainer, although it wouldn't surprise me to see a Redbird version of this appear sometime soon. But you can use this as an aid to your training and your familiarization of what it means to actually fly a Piper Comanche. In fact, Accu-sim goes even so far, as I said, because of the aging of components and everything, to model what it means to actually own one of these and live with these for an extended period of time. Which brings me on to my next point. This is a first impressions video, so I don't know everything about this. I'm not an expert on this aircraft. I have had quite a few hours with it though so far, but I was considering starting a series where I would age an Accu-sim aircraft. So I would basically own it and I would fly it a lot over the course of a large number of videos, and we would see what happens to the aircraft over time based on my poor flying technique and how I maintain the aircraft and the different conditions it flies in. I was going to do that with the Cherokee, because the Cherokee was, prior to this arriving, my favorite A2A Accu-sim GA aircraft. The Comanche, though, now is undoubtedly my favorite. It is phenomenal. Everything that they have always done with Accu-sim, they've done in this. So all the stuff I just described, as well as a huge and extensive set of sounds that replicate everything that would happen in this aircraft. So how the prop sounds based on the angle of attack of the blades hitting the air, how the wind sounds as it hits the airframe in different conditions, as you'll see when we go flying in a minute. If I put in hard rudder to the left or to the right, you'll hear the wind hitting the airframe of the aircraft. So it's got all that stuff, but they also went a little bit further with something they're calling DNA, aircraft DNA. They actually put in vibration measuring devices into Scott's aircraft and measured the vibration under certain conditions, and then put that into the simulation as well. So if the engine is running rough, you will see the vibrations and hear them. You obviously won't feel them, but you'll see and you'll hear them in the cockpit. You'll see things shaking, you'll see needles moving. Similarly, in different phases of flight, if the engine is not set to its optimum, to its smoothest, you'll see things shaking in the cockpit as well. But then that also ties in with how they've modeled things like the prop. I mean, this has got I forget which prop it is. Oh, this is the optional prop. I actually installed this. The original prop, let me bring up the hangar here. It's an extensive hangar where you service your aircraft, of course. If we put on the original prop, which is the Macaulay, this is the prop that Scott has on his aircraft. And I think, I might be confused and have it the wrong way around, but from what I understand, the Macaulay causes more vibration than the MT. Let me change this over, the MT prop. So I'm going to be using the MT prop. I've actually been building my own aircraft here, so I have wing root fairings on, which are these little beautiful seals here, which improve the aerodynamics. I put tip tanks on that as well, which is a feature of this aircraft. They had an extra 30 gallons, I think. I could be wrong on that number, but they had a good amount of extra fuel. And I'm actually, no, I think it is 30 gallons that they put on of extra fuel to extend the range of this aircraft, which is already quite extensive, around about 1,000 miles. So I put those on. I haven't put gear lobe fairings on. I could, see down here, just because they look nice, but I'm not going to. I haven't put the slippers on. I have put the elevator tips on. That's another nice feature at the back here as well. You can see these little pointy bits on the end of the elevator. They actually increase the top speed of the aircraft. This is already a fast aircraft, though. It flies. People have been saying, a lot of the beta testers have been saying it flies a bit like a fighter. It really does. It's very fast. It's hard to keep the speed down. With those on, it gets even faster. And with the tip tanks on, that really cleans up the wing as well. All these components that you can add on, as with any other Accu-sim aircraft, change the flight model and the flight dynamics. I can even go so far as soundproof the cockpit if I really want to. I'm not going to. I actually like the noise in it. Now, I have actually wrecked one of these, so I did reset this about an hour and a half ago. It can be a challenge in certain conditions. It's a little bit like a Cherokee in that respect. When you land it, if you don't fly it by the numbers, then if you're going too fast, you risk floating quite a way down the runway, which is something I did at Flight Sim Con earlier this week. If you come in too slow, the aircraft starts to rapidly sink, and it's very easy to not be paying attention and suddenly find yourself plowing into the ground, which is what I did, so that's why I had to do a complete overhaul. But this is my new one, and I'm not going to complete overhaul this one. This is the one that we're going to do a series of videos on and see how it ages. Today is not the start of that, though. Today is really first impressions, so I'm really going to show you all the features, take it up in the air, show the aerodynamics, and land it, and just really let you build your own opinion. I've already built my own opinion, which is this is my favorite A2A Accu-sim aircraft, even above the B-17. Obviously the B-17 has a lot more character, but I think this is my favorite aircraft overall. It's really is beautiful. Let's get in the cockpit and I'll show you the stuff that's going on in here. So let's look at the modeling in here before we go anywhere else, because the guys at A2A have done an amazing job modeling this. Obviously everything's 3D. Now I'm doing this video in Prepared simply because Prepared looks better on film. I have the FSX version of this aircraft as well, and the two are identical in terms of how they fly. It's just the Prepared version looks a little bit better on film. So for all the usual people that comment and go, why aren't you doing this in FSX? Are you not doing FSX videos anymore? Yes, I'm doing FSX videos, but for this aircraft, it doesn't make a difference. It looks better in Prepared. That's where we're going to film it. But anyway, everything in here is very immaculately well done, very carefully done. So it looks like an old 1959 Piper Comanche, which it is, but it also looks like a well-loved one. It's been very well taken care of. 3D dials here. What that means, by the way, people don't understand what a 3D dial is. A 3D dial is where the needles that you see here are three-dimensional objects separate from the backing of the dial. So they float in here and they respond on their own. They're not this isn't a single bitmapped image. There is a separate needle in here, which is a 3D object. So that's all very good. All these needles obviously respond to how the aircraft is performing, and I don't mean that in a dumb, stupid way. And obviously you can see your altitude and your speed and your vertical speed and so on like as you're flying. I mean, if there is vibration from the engine, if there's vibration from the airframe, if you pull off a crazy maneuver, then that does affect the needles. You'll see them jumping and twitching and sometimes getting a little bit out of whack if you get a little crazy, which is completely accurate. Now this has retractable landing gear. There's a little switch here for the landing gear, and if that ever fails, there is an emergency gear handle here, so you can lower the gear manually with that thing. It works. It's pretty cool. I like that, and overall it's just pretty damn amazing. It really is amazing. Given that this is a 1950s aircraft as well, it has some interesting concessions to the era, like this. This is an ashtray. See that? For the smokers among you. It's a different age. It's a different age. I'm going to open the window. We are in sunny Sanford, my home airport. Obviously, being Florida, it's very hot and muggy and humid, even though it's quite early in the morning. So I'm going to open the window, as I've got the door open as well, just to stop this thing misting up. It's a beautiful, beautiful design in here. Everything is clickable. I can click on this. This will open up the navigation pop-up, like so. That's great. I can secure the yokes with the bungee cord here. Boom, and you get the appropriate sound. Now the sounds, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on, are key. There are hundreds of sounds recorded. Every single switch, knob, dial is recorded. Every facet of the engine's performance and every noise of the airframe itself is replicated. This is, to all intents and purposes, a proper Comanche, albeit a virtual one. That sounds like such a stupid thing to say. I hope you understand the point I'm trying to make. Anyway, we have the usual pop-ups for an A2A aircraft, so checklists are all here. We can see the general state of the aircraft and hints and tips here, which is great. We have this, which lets me change switches in the cockpit and also do some other neat stuff as well. So if I pop outside and bring up that pop-up, I can put this on jacks if I want to. There it goes. And I can take it off the jacks, and as I do, watch the compression on the suspension. Boom. That compression is very accurate as well. Everything about that undercarriage is accurate, from the animations when it retracts to that gear, that pneumatic compression that you just saw as weight is applied. Similarly, you'll see some of that as we start to load up the aircraft. So if I go to the load screen, I think it's shift 4 here, and we stick a couple of passengers in here, you will see compression again. See that? Amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. There's Captain Jakey trying to add me on Skype. Get rid of this. And get rid of this. So, the other stuff we can do, because I have tip tanks here, I can put fuel into those tanks if I want to. I can adjust all the fuel here, as you would expect, to change my oil and so on. Let's go back to the service hangar. As always, with the A2A Accu-sim GA aircraft, I can take a look at the engine. I can perform a compression test if I want to. There we go. Looking good, a little bit low on number 3, but overall, very, very good indeed. So no problems there. I can change the oil, I can change the spark plugs. The oil and the spark plugs and various other components here are all licensed again, as they have done in other GA aircraft. And that licensing extends to simulating those components. So you aren't actually getting an accurate simulation of a fine wire or a thick wire champion spark plug, or these wing root fairings and so on and so on. The attention to detail in this is just amazing and staggering. It really does come across as a labor of love, which it is. Again, this is Scott's own aircraft. In fact, as I said, not sure if I said, this is Scott's livery. There are 4 liveries included, 4 or 5. This is the actual A2A Simulations livery right here. Anyway, let's get into the cockpit, and we will run through those checklists, get this started up, and take off and go for a little fly. It's a joy to fly. So go back over here, pre-flight. Well, pre-flight is complete. Actually, I am going to bring up this. I'm going to remove all the pitot covers, for example. We'll close that door. There we go. Exit's closed. Okay. Passengers brief. Well, there are no passengers other than you. Seatbelts and shoulder harnesses are on. My flaps are currently up. Radios are currently off. That switch is down. That one, and that one. All the electrical switches also need to be off. I can remove the yoke to check. Yep, they are all in the down position. Mags are off as well. Autopilot right here is off. By the way, the autopilot, if you're familiar with the Cherokee's autopilot, it's the same one. So it's controlled by these 2 switches and the mode switch here. The rotating beacon now needs to go on, so we'll turn that on. Carb heat needs to go off, which it is. In is off. Fuel selectors, need to put those onto the desired tank. Now I actually have a view set up. As is my way, I'm using Easy Dock. Now, incidentally, I'm not doing the walk around. There is a full walk around in here. I can show you it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I thought I could show you it. There it is. The walk around, if you have Easy Dock 1.18.5, is a little odd. And that's an EasyDock issue. Now, A2A have reached out to EasyDock and asked for their help, and EasyDock have, in their own inimitable way, remained completely silent. Guys behind EasyDock, please listen to developers and help them out where appropriate. The only way I can get the walk around to work is actually to start in the cockpit here, and then use this back arrow to go backwards around the aircraft. You can see that works just fine. We're in the right position. We're doing everything correctly. By the way, there's even animations here. If we step forward a little bit here, for example, checking the baggage door here, which I probably need to do. Click on the key. That is locked. So neat little touches like that. And obviously the photos that you get for checking the condition of the fuel, the levels of the fuel and stuff are all there, and they all work just fine. Anyway, let's get back in the cockpit and continue with what we're doing. So that's all done. Carb heat is off, fuel selectors are on the desired tank, the gear switch needs to be in the down position, which it is, so we're all good. Engine starting now. Now notice these levers here, mixture, throttle and prop, they're actually different to any other aircraft you might have run, in particular the Cessnas. You've got mixture on the left, prop on the right and throttle in the middle. So everything's a little bit back to front, but we want mixture full rich, we want prop all the way forward, and we're going to crack the throttle. So that's good. I'm going to turn on the master switch now, like so. And we're going to check that once that's done, we have a green gear light. Let's just take a look. There it is. So that's all good. It all works out just fine. We're going to turn the fuel pump on and check the fuel pressure. Watch that needle come up into the green. Great. And then we'll turn the fuel pump off. We are in sunny Sanford, Florida, so no real need to prime the engine today. We'll turn the mags onto both, so right, left and both. And we'll make sure the prop is clear. It's late at night that I'm filming this. My wife has asked me not to be a nerd and shout clear, so I won't. But we'll look around and make sure it's clear outside. And with all that done, we're going to hit the starter. And all being well, this aircraft should start up. In fact, before we do that, I'm going to put the parking brake on. There we are. Come on. There we are. That mighty engine and big propeller overriding the brake there. We'll plug in the headphones just to make it a little bit quieter, and we will idle around about 1200 RPM and start leaning it. Now it does seem to be a little bit sensitive on the mixture. You can't lean aggressively on the ground, so that should be just about fine. Just going to leave it at 1200, leaned a little bit. Look at that needle bouncing there, you see that? You change the view and you get a better view, I hope. Whoops, wrong view, Froogle. There we go. See that needle bouncing? It's alive. And it's beautiful. There we are. I'm going to enrich the mixture a little bit, enrichen the mixture. And just let this aircraft warm up. Go back out here. So we're all good. Everything's done. We need to check our oil pressure is coming up, which it is. It's in the green right there. Need to check our ammeter is good. It is, and we've leaned the mixture already. So we can go on to the next page, which is the taxi. So in order to taxi, I'm going to turn the radios on. So transponder there can go on. This one can go on, and this one can go on. Now, as always with A2A's Accu-sim GA aircraft, these are completely accurate simulations unto themselves. These two radio units right here, they are completely accurate. If you go and download the manuals for the Narco NCS 812 TSO, you will find that the actual manufacturer's manual is completely applicable to this radio stack and navigation stack here. Everything works exactly as it should. That's kind of what sets Accu-sim aircraft apart as well from other aircraft producers, add-on aircraft producers. There are some great add-on aircraft producers out there, but some of them, many of them, produce an aircraft that flies well, that looks good, that sounds good, but is somewhat shallow. It's kind of a glossy veneer over a really weak add-on. That's not the case for the A2A Accu-sim ones. They're absolutely incredible. Okay, so we're going to turn the transponder now onto altitude. So on altitude, that's great. We're going to set our altimeter. Well, to do that we need to call ATIS.
Kilo Sierra Foxtrot Bravo Airport Information Juliet 1153 Zulu Weather Wind 177 at 6 Visibility 10 Sky Clear Temperature 26 Dew Point 23 Altimeter 3011 Advise on initial contact you have information Juliet Kilo
Okay, so
Sierra.
I think our altimeter is actually pretty good. Let me hit B just to make sure. Oh, it's a little bit off, but overall good. Heading indicator. Well, we're going to use runway 27, and listening to the wind there, we're going to have a little bit of a crosswind, a 6-knot crosswind, which is just fine. It's nice to see how this aircraft responds to that. Landing gear indicator is still green. We'll keep on checking that. Radio ATIS is done. So now we're going to release the parking brakes and start rolling. Now watch this. I am not going to increase the throttle. We're currently at 1200. In fact, I'm going to bring it back a tiny bit. There we are. I'm just going to release the brake. Watch what happens. No friction bug in this aircraft. And it just wants to go, which is really, really nice. Let's head on out to runway 27 here. Look, it's picking up speed already. So we'll do our brake check. That looks good. And let's head on out. So while we're heading on out here, when we get down here, we'll do the run up and make sure everything's good with the engines before we leave this area, I think. Should be fine. I have put in a little bit of time with the aircraft since I overhauled it. Oh, a little bit too heavy on the brakes there, getting some squeaking. Alright, so let's gently coast here to a stop if we can. Squeaky brakes again. They're getting hot. Okay, so I'm holding on the brakes. Fuel quantity looks perfect in both left and right. The fuel indicators down here are not fully accurate, but they're not in the real aircraft either. Mixture is going to go up to rich. We'll go to 2000 RPM. And we will check our oil pressure, oil temperature, fuel pressure, ammeter, vacuum, CHT and EGT, basically all of this stuff here. And this, and this. Everything's looking good. We'll do the mag check. So right, little drop, left, or the other way around, that's actually right. Good, put that back on both. We'll cycle the prop now. Listen to the sound as the angle of attack on these blades changes. Isn't that great? We'll just cycle it once more to be sure. Good. And carb heat test. We're good. So, come off the power. We will lean this a tiny bit and continue on our merry way out towards runway 27 right. Now, when I first flew this at Flight Sim Con this weekend, it was a challenge. I did float it very long on the landing, and the aircraft, I kind of expected it to fly a little bit like a Cherokee. So quite placid, quite docile, quite considered, so very smooth rolling into a bank, very smooth as it adjusts to the elevator changes on the back, and it's not. It flies a lot, it's a lot more agile than a Cherokee, a lot more nimble than a Cherokee. So first time you fly it, be a little cautious, otherwise you'll be lurching all over the sky in a very inelegant fashion. Let's head on up here, and as we head on up here, I'm going to reset my view, reset track IR, and turn track IR on. Okay, so nothing here. I am the only person in the world. There's no AI traffic, no ATC. And we will turn left onto Bravo, at which point we need to cross another runway. Runway 18 here in Orlando Sanford. Just easing up on the power. It does really want to get away from you on the ground. I think I turned a little late even. Used to turning a Boeing. There we go. We'll cross runway 18 and head on down to the point at which we get ready to line up. Just check here. Good. I'll see you at the runway. Alright, so we're at runway 27 right, ready to line up. So let's bring back the checklist here. Don't want to let the RPM drop below 800 if possible. I'm going to try to keep it at 1000, just hold it on the brakes. Now I didn't turn on taxi lights because there are none. There are two landing lights. I'm not sure if you taxi with those on, so I kind of left them off. As I said, there's no AI traffic, there's no other players in this. Just me. So I'm not doing any harm, but I think you taxi with those on. But anyway, before takeoff, control is free and correct. Yep, looking good, and then we can look out here as well. Great. That's great. So fuel selectors, make sure they're on the correct tank, which they are. Fuel pump can go on now. We'll turn on the landing lights. We'll turn on the strobes. Carb heat should be off. Mixture now goes full rich. Props are full forward. Engine gauges, make sure we're still not exceeding limits anywhere, which we're not. Trim tab needs to be set to neutral, which it is. Flaps, we're going to go 2/3 flaps. It will shorten the takeoff roll considerably. And make sure this door is latched. I'm not sure it is. No, it is. That is latched. So all that remains is to line up and take off, which will be throttle full, rotator 85, at positive rate, gear up, and away we go. And we're going to climb out of 105. Now, as I mentioned, it's very powerful. It does want to get away from you, not only on the ground but also in the air. And you need to be very mindful of that on this takeoff roll, as you'll see. Now, even though it's a very warm day here in Florida, I'm going to close the window. Naturally, the sound changes, as you would expect. And we will go full throttle. Look for that 85 knots. Yawing to the left a little there. There's 80 knots and 85. Let's rotate. And we want to be climbing out at 105, so I'm going to try to bring the nose up. Look at that rate of climb. Look at that pitch. So gear up. I'm going to try and trim this for a climb. We've got to 1/3 flaps now. Oh, a little bit under there. Let's bring the nose up. Get us back on that 105. Now we want to be at 24 inches manifold and 2400 RPM. We're over that. I'm going to bring back the power. Power first, prop pitch second. Then we start balancing them. So that's looking good. Let's bring up the flaps again. We're at 1500 feet already and starting to pick up speed. As I was saying about the speed on this. I'm going to pull the nose up and we'll trim it again. Having adjusted the power, we do need to trim anyway, and bringing the flaps in. As we keep on climbing here, I'm going to turn the fuel pump off and leave the landing, well no, I'll turn the landing lights off actually. And there we are, 105 knots, kinda. Keeps going over a little bit, but not a great deal. Climbing nicely. Everything is lovely. Heading to the west. Now we're going to turn to the north. We're going to head out towards Lake Ashby. And then come back and land. And we can look at, well, the climb is good. 24 and 24. It's called 24 squared when you have 24 on both. Going to keep an eye on our CHT, cylinder head temp down here. It's looking good. And our mixture, we're not going to bother leaning it, we're only going to go up to about 3,500 feet. Again, just showing you the aircraft, it is first impressions. I don't really care if I break too many laws. I really want to show you the aircraft. So I'm going to bring the nose down here now. I'm going to trim to release, to remove some of the pressure I have. Now I have my trim, my fault, set really sensitive. Probably too sensitive. And as we get into this cruise, I'm going to bring the manifold pressure and the RPM back to 18. So manifold pressure first, or 19 I should say. There, prop second. Bringing the prop back, you hear the sound, you hear the wind now, because we're going quite fast. Let's head to the north. Look at this. Now I'm turning very gently because I know what this aircraft is like. But you see how smooth that is. And there's our 3500 that I wanted, so a little bit of back pressure there. And we'll roll level. Try to get us going down a little bit as well. I'm going to try and trim this and then go hands off, and you can see what it's like in terms of speed. You can already see the speed is very high, approaching the limit. It really is a little bit of a rocket. Just trimming, still trimming. Obviously as the speed comes up, the aircraft wants to climb. That'll do. Let's pop outside. There she is. Really beautiful. Love that unique wing design as well. Apparently that's one of the strongest wings you can get in this category of aircraft. Beautiful tip tanks. Amazing stuff. You see the speed is really coming up now. So I'm going to reduce the power a bit more here. But let me show you some of the performance on this. We're just going to do a pretty smooth 30-degree turn to the right. So, look at that. Very precise. Very committed when it goes over. As we come out into the east, we'll roll level and then reverse it. So all the way over 30 degrees to the left. Very, very smooth. And having to apply quite a bit of back pressure now to bring the nose up. As we come out heading north, we'll roll level. I will try a steep turn. Just get us back where we should be, around about 3,500. So a steep turn obviously is 60 degrees or more. So we're going to go to 60 degrees. And it's going to take a huge amount of back pressure. So if I groan a bit, bear with me. So there's the roll, 30, 45, round to 60. Lots of back pressure. But once you get it there, huge amount of back pressure now. So stable and so smooth. Quite possibly the smoothest, the most stable simulated aircraft I've ever done this in. Having a hard time coordinating the turn actually now with the rudder. Very nice indeed. Let's roll level as we're heading north once again. Really is very agile. Very much like a fighter. Let me show you the stall characteristics as well. It's got an interesting stall, especially if you fight it. I picked this up from Scott's own video. So reducing the power. I don't want to go all the way off. We'll nose up, let that speed bleed off. So there's 110, 100. Increasing the back pressure as the speed comes down, so I'll start trimming this to save my poor arms. Quite a lot of trim now. Here comes the stall. Hit a bumping. Isn't that unique? And then down we go and drop the wing. So release the controls and then gently roll out and pull back. Interesting. Lots of bumping. And then you lose one of the wings, and then recovery is as simple. Now God, it's so heavily trimmed positive now. My goodness, I'm using Yoko the yoke, by the way, which is why I'm having a bit of a workout. Lots of bumping, then more violent bumping as you try to fight the stall until finally you lose a wing and down it goes. But very easy to recover. Really, really, really quite pleasant to recover. Anyway, this video is going on a bit, so I'm going to try and find my way home. Now we headed to the north, didn't we? So let's turn to the south. And we'll get that altitude down as well. We'll head back towards Sanford. Such a beautiful plane. Looking for Lake Monroe. Sanford Airport is just on the edge of the lake. There it is over there. So we're going to head out to the east, and then we'll be in a good spot to come back and land on runway 27. Let's head this way, and as we head over the lake, then we'll turn directly east. It's a good time to bring up the checklist once again. Let's just trim this again. Needs a lot of trimming. But once you have it trimmed, it's such a stable, beautiful aircraft to fly. And there we are on approach and landing checklist. So we'll leave that open for now. Managed to get my height back to 3500 without too much drama. And you'll notice I've got the manifold pressure quite low now. And the prop RPM, that can come down a bit. And you can already hear the wind on the airframe because we are going very fast. In fact, if I kick in some full rudder, let's go to the right. Listen. You hear that? Changing in volume of the engine. You hear the wind on the side of the aircraft. Go to the left. Wonderful, wonderful, beautiful little neat touches that make this more real. There is a Sanford directly ahead. So, let's reduce power. Watch what happens when I reduce power. I'm not going to touch the controls at all, just pull power off. So fluid and natural. Isn't that great? Now interestingly, with the power off like this, we're going to pick up quite a rate of descent here. Let's go for about 2,500 feet per minute. It won't pick up that much speed, which makes for a very predictable aircraft, which is nice. There's 2,000 feet per minute. Really coming down quite fast. Speed's holding nicely steady. No complaints there. Alright, so let's do a fairly wide pattern. We'll start rolling out to the east and we will level up at 1,500. There's 1,700 coming in now. And 15. So pull back on the yoke. Try to hold that. Put some more power in now. Not too much. We want to keep the speed around about 120 now that we're in the pattern. Just trimming this now. There. We'll hold it there. So let's run through the list. Fuel pump now goes on. Well, the autopilot's already off, so we don't need to worry about that. There's the fuel pump. Fuel selectors. Haven't touched them. They are still on the desired tank. Fuel levels are still good. Mixture now rich. We're going to reduce our speed down to 120 and hold 1,500 for a little while. Turn a little bit more to the left there. Just want our speed to come down to 120. Now we're technically in the pattern. We'll turn the landing lights on. We are going to have a little bit of a crosswind on landing, but that's part of the fun. Going to hold the gear up for now. We'll put them down a little bit closer to the turn on base. Just bringing the altitude back up, which will help us as well. We'll get our speed very much down to that 120 that we want. Very important to fly this by the numbers or it gets to be a handful. Now interestingly, when I flew this at FlightSimCon and I did my floaty long landing, Scott was actually watching and he said that's not uncommon in the real aircraft. So that's a bit of an endorsement, I think, for this virtual aircraft, that the same mistakes many pilots make when they first get into the real aircraft, or even rusty pilots make when they get into this aircraft, are the exact same mistakes you'll make in this aircraft in the sim, which is pretty awesome. Alright, so we just passed the threshold, so let's go gear down. I should have locked that earlier. Oh, a little bit of a bump there on the nose as the gear locked down. Wonderful effect. Where is Sanford? Okay, quite a way behind us now, so we could probably turn. Don't need to go too far, so we're going to let the speed come down now. Even more, we'll go 1/3 on the flaps. Get that speed down to about 110, and then we'll turn on base. Like so. Around we go. Whole thing about flying at Sanford is the runways are basically east and west. So it's very easy to look at the compass and see what a base heading is and what a downwind heading is. So directly south is going to be base. There, we'll start descending now. Oh, speed came down a little bit too low. Going to bring the speed back up just by nosing down a little bit to pick up a bit more, a better rate of descent. So we start descending basically, and we'll go flaps 2/3 now. We want to be about 110. We're currently 105. And I am a little bit too high, so I can just afford to nose down here. It is difficult to bleed speed, but where I'm at currently, we're in good shape. We're actually in really good shape. Gonna bring this down quite a lot more. Just trim a little bit, not too much. Bit of power now. There's enough drag out to be slowing us down in this descent. And let's make our turn on final. Now, we want to be keeping the speed at 90. Maybe even slightly above 90. As I said earlier, I think, if you get too slow, the aircraft sinks. It really sinks quite a lot, which can be a huge problem. So we don't get too slow, but we do want to have it on 90 if possible. So I'm watching my speed there. I'm about 94. Altitude's looking good. Not really lined up. They do recommend in the pilot owner's handbook that you really take your time and get well set up on the approach, which I'm not. So hopefully this doesn't end badly. Speed is coming down once again, 95. A little bit too low. That's a mistake I'm finding I'm making now quite a lot in the Comanche, is like coming in too low. I don't know why. I haven't quite figured out what it is about this aircraft that's encouraging me to do that. See if we can rectify it on this recording. A little bit fast. Still a tad low. Obviously the VASI lights in prepared and FSX not wholly accurate. There we go though. We can use them as a good guide. So, off the power. Full flaps. Watching my speed as it drops down towards 90 now. I think we're going to be alright. Very smooth now with the gear out, full flaps. It's not at all wallowy. It's slower in terms of its response, but it doesn't feel wallowy. It doesn't feel unstable. Very nice aircraft to fly. Thinking about the power a little bit now. Gonna try not to go long. I already have a feeling I might, but that might just be habits, because so far everything in this has been quite long. So far looking good. A little bit fast, so I'm going to come off the power now. And a little flare, and we'll let this just settle. Onto the runway. Now as the speed comes down, we'll put back pressure on the yoke, a little bit of aero braking from the elevator to help us. As the speed really drops now, we can go put a little bit of brake in, go flaps up, lean the engine. Now we're back on the ground. Bring the power back in. We'll look down here, we'll turn that fuel pump off. And take the first exit on the right and head back towards Starport FBO. So there you are. My first recorded flight with A2A's brand new Comanche. My first impressions. It really is, in my opinion, the best GA aircraft they've ever done. It's just amazing. And I just remembered I'd missed so much. Let me get parked up here. I want to show you that vibration system. I was going to show you that in the air. I screwed up. Maybe I can show you on the ground, I'm not sure. But the DNA thing. But I really do believe this is the best GA aircraft by far. There is nothing from any other manufacturer that competes with this either in the GA space. You can really tell that this is a labor of love. that it is a very serious add-on designed for training as well as fun, but mainly training, to teach you what it is like to be an owner-operator of a Piper Comanche. You can tell it's had a huge amount of attention from Scott, a huge amount of input from his aircraft, and that really adds to the pedigree, I think. It's kind of like if you were to get a Boeing 737 simulation from Boeing, you know, then it would be like that. Let me see if I can show you this vibration modeling here. I'm not sure I can. There you go, you see the GPS there? So as we go through the various RPM range, it's reflected in things like the GPS or the movement of the needles. Give it a bit more power here. Look at that. Bring the prop back. You see very subtle shifts in how that thing's vibrating. The DNA system. Anyway, I'm going to stop recording here and shut this down. I'm going to shut it down properly, but off camera. There's not much to it, really honest. And I will see you next time. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. And as always, my name is Froogle. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.